Hi, in this video we're going to talk about lock escalation. Lock escalation encapsulates three terms: locking, blocking, and deadlocking. If it sounds confusing now, don't worry. Hopefully in a few minutes once we've gone through the demonstration, you'll have a greater idea of what we're talking about. Okay, so let's go through our demo. We're going to create two tables, table A and table B, each with a field that can be updated. Okay, in this case we're calling it field 2. So it's going to run these to create the tables, insert some values, and then just run some selects to show you the values that we've got here, Fred and Jane. All right, now here's where things get a little bit interesting. We're going to open a transaction in this SPID, and we're going to update table A and set field 2 equal to John. Okay, here. So let's come back up, run our select, and see it's now gone from Fred to John. But, of course, we haven't committed the transaction just yet. All right. Now we're going to go to a second tab and run something very similar. But this time, instead of updating table A, we're going to update table B. So we're going to begin our transaction, and we're going to go here and update table B. To give you an idea now of what's running in the background, we're going to come over here to a third tab and run a stored procedure called SP who is active. This stored procedure was written by a mechanic. It's quite popular in the SQL world. If you've never used it, please go Google it and download it. When we run it, here you can see we've got our two sessions, 60 and 61. And, we've got here a blocking session ID, which is currently null. Okay, so because we haven't committed the transactions, they're still running, and you can see them here. What we're going to do now, though, is go back to our first tab. Okay, the one we ran first, which is this one here. And now we're going to update table B. So remember, we've still got this one running. Okay, we haven't committed it yet. And now we're going to commit an update on table B as such. Now you'll notice that it hasn't come down and said one row updated. In fact, down the bottom here, if you can see it, it says executing query. All right, that's because this session here, 61, is being blocked by 60 because this has a lock on table B. And to demonstrate that, we come back, we rerun SP who is active, and that blocking session ID, which before was null for both rows, you can see here it's now got a 60. This is saying here that this session here, 61, is being blocked by session 60. And this is something that happens all the time in SQL Server. People are updating rows all the time. When you do an update, it does a block. Okay, so other people can't update the same row. So this is quite normal and acceptable. Okay, so here there's our row 60, updating table B. That's still going. And it has a lock on the table, And now this one's trying to do it, and it can't because of the lock. Okay, all good. Now what happens if we come back here? Well, that one's still running here. And now we try to update table A. Okay, so remember this one's still got a lock on table A. This one's got a lock on table B. The other one's trying to update table B, but it can't because of the lock. But now this one's going to update table A. So we're going to execute that. And bang, we get our deadlock. So what happened? One was trying to update A, the other one was trying to update B. They weren't committed, and then they went back and tried to update the other one. This is waiting on that. That's waiting on that. That's what's called a deadlock. All right. We come back to SP who is active. There were 2 running. We had 5. Now we've got only 1 running. Okay. And such. So now I'm just going to come back here. I'm going to commit that first transaction. Come back over here. Run SP who is active, and it's now finished. So we didn't get to commit one of our transactions. That obviously can result in data not being updated. And partial data being updated, all sorts of things can happen with deadlocks. Okay, so you may see in error reports and so forth that a deadlock happened, and the boss comes to you and says, "Okay, identify the deadlock and fix it." How do you do that if you haven't got a nice little setup like that actually caused it? To do that, one of the easiest ways to do it, and there are several ways to do it. The easiest way I find is with SQL Profiler. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to open a SQL Profiler tab, or window, I should say. I'm going to start a trace. So we're going to go File, New Trace, connect to the same instance of the database. Okay, and here's our kind of what we're going to get, our trace properties. To keep it simple, for the sake of the demonstration, I want you to come down here and go show all events. Okay, so this is kind of some basic ones. What we are interested in for identifying deadlocks is this one here, the locks. Okay, the locks events. So again, keep it simple. Let's just go and select all the different kind of locks, like such here. Okay, and then click run. And what this is going to do, this is now going to kind of keep a collection of all the things that are happening on the SQL Server for the events that we just chose. Okay, now let's come back here and let's run our deadlock demonstration again. Okay, so we're going to come back here to our first one. And we're just going to do the exact same thing. We're going to begin tran, update table 1. We can leave the values the same. That doesn't really matter. Okay, come back, open the second one, begin tran, update B. Come back here, update table B from the first one. That's now got the lock on it. That's waiting on the lock. On this one now, update table A. Wait a few seconds, and then it will deadlock. Okay, as we saw there. Now, of course, we've got that. We're going to come back to our profiler, and we're going to stop our profile here. All right, just move that out the way a little bit easier to see. Okay, just open this up. So when you know a deadlock's happening in some code, but you don't know what part of the code, there might be lots of people using the system, start your trace. When you get the deadlock that comes through the logs, you can then stop the trace and then come back here. And you can see up here all the things we're talking about, the locks and what's acquired, what's released and so forth, the SPIDs, so we're looking for 60, 61 and so forth. We're going to scroll back up, scroll. Let's see, we'll go look for deadlock. Well, sometimes it doesn't find, typical Microsoft, but I assure you, batch completed, deadlock graph. Why, when you do Control F and search for deadlock, it didn't find it before, but it's quite clear it says deadlock there? I don't know. That's Microsoft for you. But different outside the scope of this video. You can see, though, is there's definitely deadlocks here. You can see what the SQL was that was around the deadlock at the time. Let's see, can I scroll that up for you here? And also, if you find the deadlock graph, let's make this a bit bigger. You can see exactly what we were doing at the time. Remember, it's SPID 6061, and we're updating table A and table B. You can see here the lines that they use, the owners, they call in this case, and the locks and so forth. This will give you an idea of where the deadlock's occurring, and then you can go from there to try and resolve the deadlock. Resolving the deadlock, probably outside the scope of this video, but to keep it simple, just try and do things in the same order. You saw how we created the deadlock, which was going updating A, updating B, updating B, updating A. If we went A, B, B, we wouldn't get the deadlock. So yeah, essentially just try and keep things in the same order and you shouldn't get the deadlocks. That's it for this video. If you've got any questions, please sing out. Always happy to help. You can contact me via my socials or via my website. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Hi, sorry, I just realized I left out one important bit of information that will help you. If you remember a few minutes ago, I was trying to find the deadlock with Control F and so forth. There's actually a hack that will let you go straight to this without having to scroll all the way up. Okay, but it's not a hack, it's just a hidden feature. Okay, so when you go here and go new trace and you're looking specifically for a deadlock, what you should do is here in the event section, and you go show all events and we tick our locks like we did before. We start doing deadlock graphs, blah, blah, blah. You see events extraction settings pops up, and here a deadlock XML appears, and it'll save the deadlock XML separately in its own file. And you can open that separately, and it'll take you straight to all the deadlock information without having to scroll through everything. So apologies, I left it out of the original video. Want to make sure I added it back in. Use that, it's very handy. Bye for now.